Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I'm going to be talking about the 1976 creature feature Rattlers, which is, I guess, definitely not a film for anyone with a fear of snakes, but you probably wouldn't be checking this out if you had a fear of snakes. And basically we start with two young boys savagely attacked and killed by a legion of rattlesnakes in a small California desert town. This is pretty strange, so the local sheriff calls upon herpetologist Dr. Tom Parkinson to discover why the snake's displaying abnormal aggression and swarming behaviour. To Parkinson's disgust, the sheriff teams him with war photographer Anne Bradley for this mission. Why is a war photographer being assigned into an investigation into snakes? Don't ask inconvenient questions, alright? Just let it go. Because the movie sure isn't going to tell you. As more people in the desert town are killed by the vicious rattlesnakes, Parkinson's and Bradley's investigation leads them to a nearby army base, where the commanding officer, Colonel Stroud, seems strangely reluctant to give them any assistance. Could it be that Colonel Stroud has something to do with rattlesnake's strange behaviour, and how can our bickering investigators find proof? So Rattlers is a cheapy 70s drive-in picture, a low-budget creature feature starring a bunch of people you've probably never heard of. Though to be fair, leading man Sam Chu Jr., which is a great name by the way, does appear to have worked pretty consistently as a guest actor throughout the 70s and 80s on TV. Now apparently Rattlers found at least a few fans. There was a made-for-TV sequel in 2021, 45 years after this film came out. I've never seen the imaginatively titled Rattlers 2, but I doubt it's any better than this turkey, frankly. Because a turkey this definitely is. We're going to talk about why, and there are going to be some spoilers here, because frankly, the film won't get any worse by knowing what's going to happen. So a year or two before I first saw Rattlers, I watched the movie Sss. That film's main plot involved a mad scientist's genetic experiments, though that part was honestly pretty lame. Sss. It's just a great name. Got most of its thrills and tension from the many scenes of snake handling, where there were real people handling real snakes and at risk of really being bitten. These were kind of nerve-wracking, even if you have no particular fear of snakes, because I wouldn't want to meet a snake in the wild, but I don't look at a snake and go ah. But yeah, but they made me nervous, and I think they would have sent anyone with a fear of snakes into the screaming memes. And I mention S, which is also known as snake, with 4 S's, because of the contrast with this film. In Rattlers, the snake scenes simply aren't scary. I mean, if you've got a phobia about snakes, you're still going to hate them because there are snakes in them, but only because there are snakes in them, not because the film does any kind of decent job of establishing a sense of menace. The closest it gets is ironically in a scene featuring a cobra rather than rattlesnakes. And the lack of scary snake scenes is kind of a big flaw in a movie about scary snakes. Just saying. Yeah, so on that front, Rattlers is definitely a snore. So yeah, Rattlers has a bad script, to the point that it actually feels unfinished. You may recall that I ended my summary of the film with 2 questions. Does Colonel Stroud have something to do with the rattlesnake's strange behaviour? And how can our bickering investigators find proof? The answer to the first question is yes, obviously. And it is obvious because Rattlers never bothers to present a single other alternative explanation. It's like a multiple choice question where there's only one answer. It emerges that the not-so-good colonel ordered and then covered up the illegal disposal of an experimental nerve gas in one of the local desert caves. The exposure of the snakes to the nerve gas is what has made them unusually aggressive. The answer to the second question, meanwhile, is pretty much that they just ask somebody. Yay, investigation! Now, neither of these flaws are actually the biggest issue with the script. Rattlers saves its most egregious flaw for its ending. You see, after Colonel Stroud is brought to what passes for justice in this movie, the film ends. The fact that nothing has been done about the thousands of killer snakes is, I guess, a problem for some other film. Certainly this one is not going to address it. Now, in an attempt to embrace the 70s gestalt, Rattlers makes a subplot out of women's liberation. And it bungles it, pretty much like it bungles most things script-related. You see, Dr. Parkinson isn't much pleased to have Anne Bradley on his investigation with him. And hey, if that was because he too was wondering why the heck a war photographer was being involved, I'd probably give him a pass for that. But it is explicitly her gender that's an issue. A woman? We can't have a woman. There are snakes. Now, you might be thinking, well, I mean, obviously, she's going to prove herself to him at some point, and he'll reluctantly acknowledge her abilities, and then they'll probably kiss, because that's what happens in a movie when a man and a woman have been arguing. But if so, you would be wrong on all counts. When the snakes turn up, Anne is going to freak out helplessly and need to be rescued by a big, strong man. Yay, sexism. Yeah, Rattlers is not even a good kind of bad. Treat it like a real snake and stay away. Next time, a 2-for-1, I'm going to discuss the 2004 urban fantasy film from Russia, Night Watch, and also very briefly address its 2006 sequel, Day Watch. And it's going to be very brief mostly because that latter film is a hot mess that makes no sense. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.